October 8th, 9:48 AM, District Court, Defendant Lobby number 6. Hello everyone, Triple S back with some more apologies, Ace Attorney. We're in the courtroom. Let's just go, I guess. Nothing else to talk about, really. Good morning. So, you're Vera, right? I'm Trucy. Trucy Wright. That's right with W. But not right, right? We're on your side. You can tell us anything, please? Good morning. She speaks? Not bad, not bad. But I think you'd do better with a little smile, you know? You're so pretty, you need to sell yourself, you know? Juicy, let's take it easy for starters. Thank you for taking my case. Okay, well that's a start, I guess. Huh? There she goes with the nail polish again. That's great, really. It's so cultured. Nope, more scribblings. Want to try? Ooh, really? Ah, girls. The victim, Drew Measham, was a forger, and a stolen painting was found in his studio. A life of crime, really, and maybe one that led to his death. October 8th, 10 AM, District Court, Courtroom number 3. Well, we will now begin the trial of Vera Measham. Is the judge okay? His voice is all raspy and he's looking around all nervous like. The repercussions of today's trial will most likely be felt for a long time. It may indeed alter our legal system forever. Today is a test of the jury system, and the first step toward a new order in our courts. Daddy's secret mission. The jurists will function like a jury. It is hoped their inclusion will help the courts to better reflect the people's will. Why aren't there any jurists in the courtroom? 3 closed-circuit cameras watch this courtroom at all times. The jurists have access to everything that transpires. Jurists, Judge Well and Judge Cool. Now see here, Prosecutor Gavin. I was going to say that. My apologies, Herr Judge. Jurists, judge today's trial coolly, if you'd be so kind. The jurists are unbound by the letter of the law. They don't affect the trial with evidence, but by their feelings. Yeah, I thought I read that wrong then. And we're about to find out just what effects they're going to have. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, the details of the case, if you would. The victim is the painter Drew Measham. He was killed in his own studio. His coffee was poisoned, by whom you ask? By none other than the defendants of Vera Measham. There wasn't any poison in the coffee. Achtung! Someone has been doing their homework. Indeed, poison was not present in the coffee, but on the mug itself. The mug? Residue was found on the rim, I see. The autopsy report describes the manner of our victim's death. The court accepts this as evidence. Measham's autopsy report added to the court record. According to this report, the victim's death was caused by atroquinine poisoning. A chemical compound that does not occur naturally. Lethal dosage is a mere 0.002 milligrams. A touch of atroquinine in the body is a touch of the Reaper's scythe. Very well, Prosecutor Gavin, you may present your witness. I have for you today a simple man for a simple case. A man who witnessed the murder in its entirety. A journalist, no doubt. The witness will state his name and occupation. Ta-da! Ah, right. Well, for starters, my name's Spark Brushel. My job is a lone observer of the world. In other words, a freelance journalist, right? If you don't mind, I'd like to state something here for the record. Yes, Mr. Brushel? I dislike conclusions, specifically the jumping to aspects of conclusions. Preconceptions make park sandbox of endless desert waste. End quote. Desert waste? I've got no idea what I'm reading right now. But you are a journalist. You said so yourself yesterday. Well, that's true, yes. But you must understand, I stand before you today, a man with a dream. I'm offering you my testimony in exchange for exclusive rights to the story. Scoop turns Mr. Brushel into that Mr. Brushel. End quote. Say your testimony then, shall we? Simple case, eh, Gavin? For me, the jury is still out. Witness testimony, the journalist's story. I visited the studio around 9 that night to do the interview. The first outsider to enter the atelier, I don't know what that word is, journalistic history made, end quote. His daughter brought us coffee right after we started. And you know what happened next? Star falls, end quote. No one else entered the room besides her the whole time. That does sound like a simple case. Unless you were the one who poisoned him. What are you saying, Judge? Need I remind you, the cameras are rolling today. I felt the need to be a bit dramatic. You didn't do it, did you? Me do a thing like that? Come on, that's like newsmaker making the news, end quote. Or even contemporary witch hunt, end quote. I know, wild accusations rock courtroom, end quote. Rock indeed. Prosecutor Gavin sure looks like he's having fun. I'm so happy for him. Very well, Mr. Justice, your cross-examination, please. Should be a pretty simple one. We're going to go to statement 4. The Star Falls, end quote, one. I visited the studio. First outsider to do that, yes. Thought about his coffee right as I started. And press. What's this about a star falling? Star falls, huh? It's like an old telegram. Send money over. Zowie, you don't know? That's like a journalism code word. An important personage passes away. A star falls, get it? There's no gravity in space, is there? Now, are you CinemaSins? Because you sound like CinemaSins. Wouldn't think stars could fall, really. Does this matter? Oh boy, this is good stuff, good stuff. How about star breaks? Nah, lacks punch. I know. Star dies. Nah, lacks an imagination. Of course, you could go with Drew dies, straight to the point, I like it. I think we need to hear about something a little more substantial. Let's talk about the star's coffee. You said Mr. Measham had the coffee too? But did you actually see him drink the coffee? Of course. He who sees it wins, but he who says it wins bigger, end quote. Live in a man sees dog and writes about it, well, yet, I guess I can't say I saw him drink it, really. He had one so-called sip, if that. Man puts lips to mug, drinks, end quote. That poison is quite virulent, I hear. So many words I can't pronounce today. My stomach did the so-called somersault, since I gulped down that coffee without so much as a second glance at it. Wait, maybe something's there. Some kind of so-called trick. Anyone want to venture a guess for the record? Does this guy have a pause button? I do. Mr. Justice, did you find that testimony valuable? When is he ever not important? The victim drank his coffee, then immediately fell over. Oh yes, you can go to press with that one. Your Honour, this is a vital piece of information. Please add it to the testimony. Very well, the witness will add this to his testimony. Vital, right. Okay, what is it? He had one sip, if that. The next moment, he was on the floor, and we present the coffee mug. You know what I have a problem with? A particular property of the poison used, atroquinine. Oh, Prosecutor Gavin was quite clear about the poison. A lethal dosage of 0.002 milligrams paralyzes the central nervous system. If you drank that, even you, Mr. Justice, would be reduced to a quivering pile. Why are you using me as an example? I thought I was going to say pile of something. You always say pile of something. You don't just end up saying pile. Whatever. Unfortunately, we weren't told everything. There was a vital omission in Prosecutor Gavin's information. Ooh, an omission? Atroquinine is as virulent as he says, but death doesn't come upon ingestion, not immediately. That's because atroquinine is slow-acting. Slow-acting? What? According to one forensic scientist, by the name of Emma, it's one of the most virulent poisons, but it absorbs into the body astonishingly slowly. It takes at least 15 minutes from the time of ingestion for adverse effects to show. If we suppose that the moment Mr. Measham sips the coffee was when he sealed his fate, then he would still have had time left to enjoy his last cup of joe. Just like Goddo. Order, order. What's the meaning of this? If what the defence says is correct, well, that contradicts the entire testimony we just heard. Well, Mr. Brushell, anything to say on the record? Slow acting. SLOWACT. It was virulent, well, alright. Even then, it had already begun digging its claws into the journalist. He's working on his scoop. Nah. Oh. What now? It's Brushell, yeah? Here, Brushell. Let's take a trip back down memory lane. Huh? Did the victim really die the instant he took a sip? Think it over. This is vital. Lots of vital today. You know what I think? I think that was a not-so-subliminal suggestion, end quote. I admit it does cause a problem if he died when you say he died. I'd be forced to say auf Wiedersehen to my simple case. And you would be forced to say farewell to your article. Come again? You can't write a story based on conjecture, can you? And as the case drags on, other reporters will pick up the scent. And you'll be forced to kiss your exclusive scoop goodbye. Scoop. Scoop. Look, wait, just wait a second, just 1 second. We're waiting, out with it. I think I just recalled a so-called important detail. A revival of recollection, end quote. A story survival, end quote. Attorney utterly confused, end quote. Actually, I did notice something when I visited the studio. I'd heard of poison that takes its sweet time, see? But not what I've been saying for the last few minutes, apparently. What? I'm so confused. Mr. Brushell, are you saying you noticed something that explains what happened? You bet I am. The antidote for a poisonous contradiction, end quote, you might say. Or, I still have no idea what you're talking about, end quote, I might say. I figured it out, but only after an in-depth interview. God, I can't speak. See, thanks to my journalism skills, I know who poisoned that coffee. What? You already told us. Order, order, order. As far as I can tell, the witness is standing by his testimony. Mr. Measham died the instant after he drank. Of course I'm standing by my testimony. And my dream of exclusive rights to his story. Ugh, I suppose it was too much to hope for. What was? Of course he wouldn't choose the simple case, not him. Him? Phoenix Wright, who else? Huh? Achtung, Herr Brushell, report for us if you would. What is it that you noticed? This course is a critical trial of the jury system. I'm afraid no room for doubt is permissible. You will testify to the court about what you noticed. Okay, here we go. Witness testimony, what Brushell noticed. When I arrived at the studio, Mr. Measham was at his desk. He seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. I thought nothing of it at the time, of course. Now that I think about it, what if he was writing a suicide note? A suicide note. Yep, he had this look on his face. A man's face, inscrutable as a quadratic equation, end quote. Suicide? Poor Mr. Measham. That means Vera's innocent. Would someone commit suicide in the middle of an interview? Oh. Very well, you may begin your cross-examination. Okay. Go to statement 2 and press it. When I arrived at the studio... You seemed to be writing a letter, but he quickly sealed the envelope. Press. So he put the letter away when he saw you. Other reporter gets worm. End quote. That's my secret. I'm not sure I follow. It's the night of the interview. I arrive 15 minutes ahead of schedule. The handle turns, the door opens, and I barge in. Are you sure that's okay to do? I mean, isn't that unlawful entry, really? Mr. Measham sure seemed to think so. You should have seen him. He crammed his letter into that yellow envelope as fast as he could. No secret when I spot one, and that was one. It does seem significant. Well, Mr. Justice, I wonder, it does have the ring of something important at the testimony. The defence finds this testimony vital, Your Honour. Very well, please add it to the testimony then. Why not? My account comes free of charge. Okay. It was the other envelope. I heard it was left at the crime scene. We present, if my thing would work, a red envelope that we actually have. Not a yellow one. It just so happens there was a single letter in the desk drawer at the scene. In a red envelope. What? Prosecutor Gavin. Yes? Was the yellow envelope found at the scene of the crime? Unfortunately, no. But, her forehead. It's easy to mistake the colour of an envelope. I guess, but not this envelope. You see, it was postmarked already, 7 years ago. Well, Mr. Brushell? I can explain that. Drew, right? He wanted to get that letter in an envelope pronto. Get it out of sight of my beady eyes, right? So he grabbed the nearest envelope and crammed away. And what about the whole red and yellow envelope contradiction, chump? Well, Mr. Justice, have you anything to say to the witness's claim? That night, the victim put a letter he had been writing in a red envelope. It's impossible, apparently. That's impossible. Ah, I like your expression. So full of confidence. It's simple, really. As it just so happens, the defence team investigated the contents of this envelope, with the assistance of a forensic scientist. What? Note that this letter is addressed to Drew Measham. Oh? Why would he address a letter to himself? Let alone send a suicide note to himself. Ah, I've been scooped! You found us at Freddy's? Into the scooping room? Order, order, order! Mr. Brushell, can you explain this to the court? Oh, my. How can I have forgotten? I suppose this happens to the best of us. Reporter gets all, forgets lots, end quote. I'm still waiting for an explanation, Mr. Brushell. Well, that's the thing, see, after he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Measham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. His desk drawer? Yep, a stamp. A so-called postage stamp, end quote. A stamp? Whatever for? Well, to mail his letter, what else? Then why, yes, I think I saw him put it in his letterbox. Yep, it was a yellow envelope, and he put it in that box. Well, apparently this yellow letter has nothing to do with the case. Oh, how I wish it did. Just think if that were a suicide note, what a story. Starlight suicide note in front of a reporter falls, end quote. As I was saying, that has nothing to do with this case. That said, yes, Your Honour? It makes me wonder about the contents of that red envelope. Yep, we've seen this before. $100,000 is quite a deal of money. So this was from 7 years ago, yeah? So, am I finished? Here, I mean? Am I finished here? I was thinking of, you know, going home to start writing. I hate to state what should be pretty obvious to anyone, but when you catch the scent of a story, you make that, rather unique face. Come on. Attorney has active imagination. Little else. End quote. Even I noticed something, and my eyes aren't what they used to be. You know, I'm starting to understand what all this perceiving stuff is about. Judge's active imagination. End quotes. Please continue with your testimony. Tell us about the scent of a story. Hey, I'm the one asking the questions here. Usually. Not this time, Bob. Let me just amend my guide here. We have 2 more testimonies left, and that's should be the end of the video. So, where's testimony of the scent of a story? Actually, it took a bit of work to get a thumbs up on the interview. Reporter leverages story, gets his interview, end quote. The story concerned a certain case from 7 years ago. That red envelope probably had something to do with it. Say what you will, but Drew's talent was without compare. So you threatened to go to press with this story. That's how you got your interview. Blackmail? Well, yes. I mean, no. No. Wasn't exactly black. I mean, something wrong, Mr. Brushell? Look, this is my story, my tidbit. Journalist info is livelihood. End quote. I see. While you have me chatting away in here, what's going on out there? What if some Wally Wordsworth or Sally Scooper gets wind of my story? They could be going to press while I'm going to waste. The court feels your pain, Mr. Brushell. Mr. Justice, let's pick up the pace. Certain case 7 years ago. Wait, 7 years ago? that case? The case that we all know this is about, because it's been the whole thing for the entire game, really? Well, let's go to statement 5. Say what you will, okay. The guide tells me to press it, so I'm gonna press it. I must have something about pressing and analysing stuff with this guide. Just how amazing was Mr. Measham's talent? Huh? Wee boy, I mean, hey, he's a star, man, a star. The flow of his brush is like a great, undulating river across the canvas. Artist paint slides up studio like sun, end quote. This guy's full of wacky gestures. That one just now was wackier than usual. Feels kind of nervous to me, Apollo. Definitely. I'm sensing something different than before here. Maybe it's time to bring out you-know-what. That testimony left a bad taste in my mouth. It all makes sense. Nothing jumps out as ridiculous. Wonder what this story he's talking about is. Must have been good to get an interview with a famous recluse like that. Something powerful enough to drag Dream Mission out of hiding. I wonder. Maybe it has something to do with Mr. Measham's art. And I bet we're all back to statement 1 again. God damn it, I hate when it does this. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, bracelet time. Which armpit is it? It'd be this one, wasn't it? There it is. He's sweating. Gotcha. Figured it out. You sweaty, sweaty person. Sweat much, Mr. Brushel? Yeah, well, a man can't help his glands, you know? It's more than that. When Mr. Measham's talent was mentioned, you suddenly began to sweat buckets. You're hiding something about his talents. What? That's ridiculous. Evidence time. Let's show Mr. Measham's true talent lay. Just so happens I have evidence showing the talent mentioned in that letter. Where is it? Because I've completely... oh, there it is. It's that one. Hidden painting. This painting was found in Mr. Measham's studio. There are 2 problems with this painting. The first is it wasn't painted by Mr. Measham. Second is that there was another painting in the studio which looks exactly like this one, except it was only half done. Then we have a letter discussing a payment of $100,000, which suggests a certain business operation. The business of making forgeries. Oh. He's dead. He died. So sad. That is all, Your Honour. Everyone, please, everyone. Can we get this private, please? This is my story, my scoop. Forgery. That's a serious crime. Dream Measham is known as an artist these days. There were rumours he dabbled in another kind of art until a few years back. Another art meaning forgery? Dream Measham was talented, alright. Talented at making precise, detailed fakes. The fact that certain criminal elements were quick to discover. Criminal elements? What? You can't say this be talking about... Exactly. Talking about forging evidence. The rumours started circulating 7 years ago. So 7 years ago? So are we to understand that this letter, this payment of $100,000 was for... Exactly. Forged evidence, nets tidy profit, end quote. Order, order, order. Right, it's like our victim was living a double life. Aha, this is my chance. So the victim had ties to the criminal underworld, right? He couldn't have had plenty of enemies. He could have had plenty of enemies we know nothing about. This is my first time hearing of this criminal world. We certainly found no criminal connections when we conducted our investigation. But how do you explain all this money? You have to admit there's a possibility of some illegal activity here. But there is no proof tying this letter to our case. Our case was and remains simple from the beginning. Only the defendant could have poisoned that mug that night. And you, of course. Hey, hey, hey! The only thing I poison is my pen when I'm writing reviews. Mr. Brushel, your testimony to this point has been quite unreliable. It doesn't speak well of your reporting acumen. What are you talking about? My journalism is rock solid. Journalism so solid you could stand an elephant on it. End quote. In any case, let's hear a summarised recap of your testimony. If we can ascertain the situation in the studio from the recap, the trial is over. Apollo, what's he talking about? The cross-examination showed Mr. Brushel didn't have a reason or means to poison him. As long as there's no other suspects, then the killer had to be Vera. That's what. This next testimony is our last chance. Mr. Brushel, your testimony, please. Okay, remember my guide again, because this testimony is going to be a long one, but it will be the last one for this video. The interview, a recap. The only other person in the studio that night was the defendant. It was Vera who poured the coffee. She's his missus as much herself. The only thing that touched Drew's lips during the interview was that mug. And nothing left that studio after he died. Nothing. Okay. Clearly the only one who could have poisoned him was his daughter. A nice testimony, clear, succinct, and without room for doubt. Ah, shucks. You really think so? I believe this clarifies the situation that night. Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your final cross-examination. Right. I still have one trump card left to play, and I won't let this trial end until I use it. I'm gonna nab a quick drink. Okay. We're gonna go to statement 4, and nothing left that studio after he died. Here we go. And apparently the guide says we press it, so. Not one thing, you sure? Yep, sure can be. Well, with one exception. One exception? What? Journalist Spark Brushel does interview, leaves studio. End quote. Come on. It's a joke. Get it? Not funny, I know, but still. Did something leave the studio that night? Why does that sound familiar? Where have I heard something like that before? Now that we've proven our witness is a comedian of sorts, I'd like to turn to our defence attorney before returning to the testimony. Do you have any idea what, if anything, might have left the studio that night? Just one thing. I think one thing might very well have left the studio that night, actually. A certain something that has vanished from the crime scene. By which you mean something other than our witness. Of course. Don't tell me, Veramisham. Believe me, any comic relief I may provide is entirely unintentional. Then let's see what you've got for us, Mr. Justice. Well, this thing wasn't at the scene of the crime, so I can't show it to you. But I do have evidence that shows how it could have been taken from the scene. What do I pick here? I pick the letterbox, apparently. This is the only link between that studio and the outside world. A letterbox? What did Mr. Brushel just tell us? When he entered the studio on the night of the murder, the victim had just finished writing a letter. Yeah, I said that. And yeah, it was true. Furthermore, you went on to tell us that he put the letter in a yellow envelope and put it in the letterbox. Ah, that very same letterbox was empty. In other words, that night, the yellow envelope disappeared. Ah, yes, intriguing. So an envelope has disappeared from the scene of the crime. Of course, this changes nothing. Huh? He has a point, Mr. Justice. What we're trying to figure out here is how the poison got into Mr. Measham. Is it really important that this envelope the witness says he saw disappeared? Well, if it did disappear, then something did leave the studio that night. That seems very important to me. Very well then, the witness will add this to his testimony. You got it. I still think this fails to change anything, Hair Forehead. I wouldn't be so sure. The letter disappeared from the crime scene that night. This is exactly the opening I've been looking for. Okay. The letter was put in the post from the studio, but I hardly think that matters. The guide says repress it. I doubt we'd need to do it, but apparently we do. Nothing could be more serious than an envelope disappearing from that studio. And you were hiding that fact from us. Yes, well, actually, I don't argue the possibility that a letter disappeared from that studio, but Hair Forehead, isn't there a much more serious question before us? Right, how Mr. Measham was poisoned, I know. Mr. Brushel's testimony has changed, which means the facts of the case have too. What he's told us means something entirely different now. I'm starting to think. Let's keep thinking, Apollo. Okay, the guide says, I'm just following the guide here. It says we go back to statement 3, the only thing that touched Drew's lips. And we press this now. See, there's the only thing with this guy. The person who made this, I've probably mentioned this 1,000 times already in the past, but I keep remembering it and I keep bringing it up. The person who made this guide put in for, to press stuff that doesn't actually make the story go forward. It's just to give context to other stuff. And then like he'll say like, okay, go into your court record and examine this thing, and you don't need to do it, but if you do it, then you know why you're presenting it later on at another statement. So I don't know if I need to press this or not. Well, I mean, statement 4A, I mean, but we'll see. Sure about that? Well, to be really, really precise, I was busy gobbling mint candies the whole time. One of those candies might have been poisoned. Yet at the time of the autopsy, no fresh fragrance of mint filled the room. And no mint residue was found. It was a long shot anyway. Don't tell me you're still trying to prove this. You think the victim ate, drank, or otherwise ingested something other than coffee? Well, Mr. Justice, if you have some proof, possibility is there, I can feel it, just maybe not prove it, not yet. Possibility isn't going to cut it, not now. Mr. Mishu ingested that poison via a route other than that coffee. I can prove it, apparently. Proof is possible. Here goes nothing. You do understand what we need, yeah? Proof, Herr Forehead, not possibilities. Of course, and Prosecutor Gavin, I hope you understand. I'm ready to give you that proof. What did you say? I have proof of the disappearing envelope. I saw him write a letter, I did. Which was picked up by the mailman, I assume. Of course, which means the envelope had a stamp on it. A stamp. As we all know, stamps come with dry glue on the back. In order to use the glue, you have to wet it by licking the stamp. Fair. No one worth talking to actually licks stamps in this day and age. Even if you wanted to talk to him, you couldn't. He's dead after all. Okay, so he licked the stamp. But wait, how does that explain the atropine on the rim of the coffee mug? If you lick the back of a poison stamp, the poison would get on his tongue, yes? What would then happen if he put the coffee mug to his mouth, huh? Those traces on the mug weren't the killer's doing, it was the other way around. What? The coffee mug didn't poison Mr. Measham. Mr. Measham poisoned the coffee mug himself. He's the murderer. Order, order, order. But that doesn't... does it? Recall, if you would. Atropine is a starting poison, yes? Poison entered his body when he put the stamp on the envelope. But his time wasn't up until the very moment he touched his lips to that cup of joe. Anyone got anything to say? You have something to add, Mr. Brushell? Oh, his nose is picking up another scent. As I believe I mentioned earlier, well, that's the thing, see, after he put his letter in that envelope, Mr. Measham sat there searching his desk drawer for something. It's a stamp, a so-called postage stamp, end quote. But you know, I don't seem to remember him ever finding one. Maybe he just ran out? Incidentally, we searched the desk drawer at the scene of the crime. There were no stamps, not a single one. Oh, I can prove that easy enough. That does pose a problem. How will you prove that the stamp was coated with poison? Actually, I'm glad no other stamps were found. It makes proving the stamp he used was poison possible. Good show, good show. You can't even prove there was a stamp at the scene in the first place. Yes, I can. Well, let's hear what the defence has to say anyway. Where's your evidence that proves the existence of this poisoned stamp? Where is it? Tiny frame. Little bitty tiny frame. Well, that certainly is a cute little frame. And by little, I mean really little. It was on the victim's desk, Your Honour. Quite empty, as you can see for yourself. I noticed that too during my inspection. So what? Apparently you weren't as observant as you should have been. You see, when you saw this frame, it was missing something quite important. Missing something? Yep, a pale bluish stain on the inside of the frame. Atropine residue. What? Why wasn't I told about this? The frame is only 2 inches square, the face of the frame is even smaller. Maybe an inch wide at most. You aren't saying... Yep. Oh, but I am. Tell me, what fits in such a small frame? A commemorative stamp, perhaps? Order, order, order! The poison stamp was in this frame? Impossible. Prosecutor Gavin? Why would he put something like that on his desk? Don't tell me he had it dead so he could commit suicide if the mood struck. You know, can I say something? I had a thought, see? Well, Mr. Bushell, and please stop jittering around like that. Victim was a forger, right? There's a lot of money in that line of work. Forger forges friends, makes enemies too, end quote. So the poison stamp might have been a murder weapon aimed at him. Ah, again with the guitar solo. Oh, rich. That's rich. Leave the ridiculous flights of fancy to the governor's song lyrics, please. Finally, something we agree on. The stamp was a murder weapon? Nonsense. Murder is a simple business. Who would go to such lengths? No one. Oh, I disagree. Come again? Recall, if you would, the victim's reclusive lifestyle. Drew Measham hid from the world. He avoided meetings. His only contact with the outside world was the mail. The mail! Now, if you wanted to kill someone you couldn't meet, but you knew read letters, a stamp would be the perfect weapon. Ridiculous! Where's your proof? I want proof! Show us evidence that this poison stamp was sent to him as a murder weapon. I might not have evidence, per se, but things are finally starting to come together. What is it, Apollo? Your fists are trembling. I think I know what happened. I don't believe it, but I can see it. I think I know how Mr. Measham was killed. Well, fill us in, Mr. Justice. Some piece of evidence points to the truth, Your Honour. I can show you how someone with the intent to kill sent Mr. Measham the stamp of death. The red envelope. Isn't this the envelope? The one from 7 years ago? Think about the text of the letter again. There were 2 pages in the envelope. This is page 1. And this is page 2. I want to draw your attention to one phrase in particular. Send in the enclosed envelope with the enclosed stamp within 3 days. The enclosed stamp, Your Honour. In other words, if I have this straight, the stamp, poison, on the stamp, lick, lick, gasp, end quote. Now, what if he had done exactly as the letter asked? He would sign the document, put it in the envelope, and put the stamp on it, right? Then he would put it in his letterbox. 50 minutes wouldn't have elapsed between affixing the stamp and her mailing the letter. But the clock started ticking, and when the time came, he drew his last breath, and the murder weapon would be taken away from the scene. Quite conveniently, thanks to the postal system. Gonna get an objection here. Yeah, there we go. Again, a guitar solo. Damn. Such a splendid imagination you have here, Forehead. Let me confirm one thing with you, if I might. So this poison stamp was inside this envelope from 7 years ago? Yeah? Is that what you'd have us believe, really? Well, it's a little bit of a stretch, but there's a possibility. Yes, a very small possibility. How small, I wonder? About an inch. Poison stamp in this envelope, a stamp that then became the murder weapon? How do you intend to prove this seeming coincidence? Well, it was 7 years ago, and we don't even know who sent that letter. And your answer is silence. I see. Very well. I move to... It's not nice to pick on the Fraulein, Clavier. What the hell are you doing here? Oh. Emma! What happened then? I like my Christoph Gavin impression. Did it sound like him? Oh, right, okay. Don't quit your day job. Don't terrify me like that, Jesus Christ. Don't you have a crime scene to be looking after, Fraulein Detective? Someone had to come dig you all out the mess you're making this case. Mess? You know, none of this would happen if you just trusted in science a little more. You can find out if that stamp was in the envelope easy. Care to explain yourself, Fraulein Detective? Glare at me all you want, but science is on my side. So on the rest to do, right? That's right, the poison detection spray. Produce the red envelope at once. You can open it on the authority of the court. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna have to use my... There it is. Found it. Well, would you look at that? No mistaking it. That's atrocanine residue. I don't believe it. A murder weapon from the past. Now 7 years later it bears its fangs at last. Absolutely outrageous. Tell me why. Why didn't this murder take place 7 years ago? Well, there's one possibility. Maybe Mr. Measham figured it out. Figured what out? He realised that the person who sent that letter wanted him dead. So he sent his reply with a different stamp. And put his decisive evidence in a frame? Ah, you're still here? Can I make a statement here on the record? I spark razor tooth brushel, claim the scoop as mine. Drew Measham killed in cold blood. I send her a 7-year-old letter, end quote. No, maybe something more succinct. Star falls after 7-year delay, end quote. You get out of here. Order, order, order. I see no room for further argument here. But I admit, this is all coming as quite a shock. To think that the murder weapon reached his mouth after 7 years. Stamp his ticket straight to afterlife, end quote. Oh, I think the witness is a bad influence on our judge. I see no need for further debate on this matter. The sender of that letter 7 years ago could hardly have been our defendant. Apollo! I think we just won. Very well, this court finds the defendants. Oh, there we go. Another guitar solo! My god. Is this the bright future of our legal system? Prosecutor Gavin? A ticket to the afterlife from 7 years ago? Tickets for governor shows are invalid after 2 weeks. But it doesn't make sense any other way. It boggles my mind that so many people haven't noticed this. There's a fatal contradiction in Hair for Hair's claim. A contradiction? A poison stamp was placed in this envelope 7 years ago, whereupon it was framed until now. If that's the case, then why would Drew Measham have done what he did? Emma explained that. He must have realised it was poisoned. Therein lies the rub. 7 years ago, the forger Drew Measham sensed a trap and put the stamp in a frame. I don't debate this, but this begs the question. Why 7 years later did he use that stamp on the night of the murder? Ah, surely you don't mean to suggest that Mr. Measham simply forgot. He put the murder weapon in a frame on his desk for 7 years, and forgot? You expect us to believe he sprang the trap on himself? Oh! Dead. He died. Oh, my right hand is cramping up. My thumb. Ow. Well, I admit this is all quite shocking myself. It does seem highly unlikely that he would fall afoul of a trap that had been sitting on his desk for 7 years. Apollo! I don't think we're winning anymore. Oh, I'm glad to see you're all back in the real world now. Welcome back to reality. We've been waiting for you. Okay, then how do you explain the poison stamp that was in this envelope? The poison stamp? What exactly is this poison stamp again? Have you brought it to court for us? I see no proof that such a thing ever existed. What about the atrocanine residue, huh? Oh, I agree that does seem to be atrocanine residue. But, forehead, it's certainly no stamp. Yeah, but even if your precious poison stamp did exist, Drew Measham never would have used it. That is all. Balls. I believe we've come to a conclusion. Again. Apollo! Were we wrong the whole time? I can't believe it. The poison traces match up. It can't be a coincidence. I'd like to bring some closure to this issue sometime this year. Miss Justice? Yes, Your Honour? Let's review the facts and see where we stand. 7 years ago, Drew Measham received a red envelope. There were traces of the poison atrocanine on the document inside the envelope. A similar trace was also found at the crime scene, on this tiny picture frame. The defence has indicated the possibility of a yellow envelope. An envelope that left the scene of the crime with a poison stamp on it. Yep, but even if this envelope contained a poison stamp, and Drew Measham, knowing this, put it in a frame, he never would have used a stamp. afraid you're right, which means there is a fatal flaw in the defence's case. I haven't been on the wrong track this whole time, I'm sure of it. Traces of Ash-Nine, the envelope, the frame, and Drew Measham's mysterious death, they're all connected somehow. Well, Mr. Justice, do you have a conclusion for us? The defence stands by its case, Your Honour. We've seen that the logical outcome of the evidence makes no sense, which means that one of our clues must be a fake. Ah, fake clue. Fascinating. If you find this fake, your wild fantasies will prove quite reasonable, yeah? The fake clue that's thrown us off the poison trail is none other than the red envelope, the frame, Drew Measham. The victim was a fake clue? I'm afraid I don't understand. I'll explain. We have an envelope, a frame and a mug linked by poison. That all makes sense. What doesn't make sense is the victim himself. Objection! Congratulations, you've completely lost me. So the fake evidence is none other than the master of fake himself, the forger? It's a good story, I'll give you that. The fake clue, fakes, forgeries. I know that face. That's the I just had an idea face. I don't know if I'm right, but I'm going with it anyway. What if our forger is the fake? Come again? 7 years ago, our forger sniffed the trap and stepped aside. 7 years passed. Now the forger stumbles into that very same trap and dies. Why? That's what I want to know. Because the forger who was killed was a fake. Here we are again. The victim was a fake. One forger smelled the trap, one forger fell into the trap. That's two forgers, and one of them was a fake. Order, order, order! So you're telling us that Drew Measham, the victim, was a fake. Well, if it was the fake, who was the real forger? You better not be claiming there was some kind of switcheroo. I'm afraid you're going to have to back up your story. Mr. Justice, show us just who the real Drew Measham was. Drew Measham wasn't the real forger. There's only one other person it could have been. Understood, Your Honour. Forger Drew Measham was himself a forgery. The real forger was... Dun da 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 da... Vera. There can only be one explanation, really. The real identity of the forger known as Drew Measham is none other than... his only daughter, Vera Measham. Order, order, order! Mr. Justice, this is going out on a limb even for you. I kinda agree, I mean, Vera a forger? Let's consider it before you write it off entirely. If you look at the paintings in the studio, one fact becomes quite clear. Forgery had been taking place in that studio for quite some time. The forger wasn't caught in that trap 7 years ago. This can only mean that the one who was caught in the trap wasn't the forger. Well, actually that does make a certain kind of sense. One more thing. Only 2 sets of fingerprints were found in the forger's studio. Drew Measham's and Vera Measham's. If we know that Drew Measham wasn't the forger, that leaves only one possibility by a process of elimination. The forger was Vera Measham. Well... oh my god almighty, another guitar solo. Fascinating. Oh, here she is. Vera Measham? You've been paying attention to the trial so far. Let's just ask her, be done with it, shall we? Who are you? Who is the forger Drew Measham? Was that an expression of emotion I saw on her face? She's staring holes into Prosecutor Gavin's face. I'm used to being stared at by Fraulines, believe me. Though they usually talk to me too. Tell us, were you the one who forged those works of art? Yep. So the forger Drew Measham was you? Yep, it was me. What? What? Oh heck, the court was in an uproar and it wasn't coming down. We had to break for a 10-minute recess. To be continued! Dun dun dun! So, the forger was not Drew, it was Vera, and the poison was not in the cup or on the cup, it was on the stamp. But still the question is, who sent that letter with that stamp in it? So maybe we'll find out next time. So thank you for watching, I shall see you all next time. Goodbye. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you decide to subscribe to the channel, that would be amazing, and ding that bell to be the first to hear about my new videos. Thanks again, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.